Hey, what's up, everyone? Ralph here. So, if you're someone that's looking to build wealth, right, and you feel like you're doing everything right, you're saving your money, you're staying away from Starbucks, and you're budgeting, right, you're making sure you're living within your means. However, you still feel like when it comes to you're building your net worth, you feel still it's stagnant, right? You still feel like you're broke, and you're living paycheck to paycheck, and you're trying to figure out why. Well, it's probably because you're saving wrong. Okay. And in this video, we're going to talk about why saving alone just isn't enough to build wealth, right? You're going to need a little bit more because let's be honest, right? The way we save, right, is built generationally, right? It's the habits are passed down from generation to generation, and you probably developed a lot of these habits from your parents and their parents from their parents, and it made sense back then, right? If you look at past generations, the way they saved, they had this idea that if I save enough money, I could build wealth, right? And it probably made sense because let's be honest, like they had back in those days, they had a lot of job security, right? A person could, work at the job 20, 30, 40 years and be fine, right? They probably had the pension, they have, low inflation, even though there was times where, probably high inflation, but, relatively, inflation wasn't too bad. And, they had lower cost of living. All right, not to say that they didn't have issues, but it was just much easier to operate during those times compared to now. You have high inflation. There's no job security, right? You'd be lucky if you're at a job for 20 years. The cost of living has increased exponentially, and wages haven't kept up with inflation. So it's much more difficult for someone to then say, you know what, I can just save my way to wealth, and we all know that's not the case. Now, especially not today's things. And this is not to say that saving is a bad thing, right? Saving obviously is a good thing, right? The more you save, the more saving is a good thing, but you want to do more than just save, right? You gotta put that money to work. So next we're going to talk about some of the issues when it comes to just saving. If you're someone that just has that saver mentality. So one thing is with saving is that you can't save what you don't earn. And what do I mean by that? Like if you're someone that has a job, right? You either have a salary or you have a hourly wage, right? Hourly wage, right? And the problem with this is these things are capped, right? So you can only make so much money. Therefore, it means you can only save so much money, right? And that's an issue and this is why I always emphasize, try to find ways to create more income. All right. Try to find ways to earn more, whether you have to get another job or, you got a side hustle, or maybe starting a business, right? This is something I always recommend because, when it comes to a business, like the amount of money that you can make is depending on the type of systems you have or the type of, product or service that you're selling. So there's no cap. It's no cap to how much money you can make depending on what you're getting into, as opposed to of your job, you are capped at your salary or your hourly income. So, obviously the more money that you can make, the more you can save. And that's always important because then the more money you can save, then there's more money that you can put to work and do other things. Another issue with saving is inflation, right? $1 today is worth less than $1 was 4 years ago, right? Meaning your dollar today can buy less than it used to buy 4 years ago. And that's inflation, right? And as long as government continues to print the money that they do, inflation is always going to be an issue. So if you're someone that has like your income is fixed or your income is not growing at the same pace as inflation, it's going to be difficult for you to do the things that you want to do and build wealth over time. So that's something you always got to factor in, especially when it comes to just having a saver's mentality. And especially if your bank is only giving 0.1% and inflation is at 2%, each year your dollar is losing power, losing purchasing power, and that's something that you don't want to do. And I think a lot of people are smart enough to know that keeping your money in the bank is not a smart move. Okay. Another thing is missed growth opportunities, right? Opportunity to grow that money over time. And for a lot of people, like keeping too much cash is opportunities missed when it comes to investment, right? Taking advantage of compound interest or asset growth, right? These are the things that you want to make sure that you're putting your money to work. And the amount of money if you're keeping money in a savings account, that's money where you could have been using to do other things that's going to grow your net worth and your income over time. So like for a lot of people, if you have a saver's mentality, you're missing out opportunities to grow your money long term. And finally, scarcity mindset, right? You have this scarcity mindset. A lot of people save because they're afraid of, bad things happening, right? So it's like, I need to keep money aside just in case things happen, lose my job or there's an emergency, and which is not a bad thing, but then you also want to make sure you're using that money to do other things as well. Putting that money, keep the emergency fund, which is a good thing, but then also have money to do other things. And you want to develop a mindset where you're thinking of ways to grow your net worth and taking opportunities to put your money to work, right? So what are wealthy people doing differently? Obviously, we all know that when it comes, what the wealthy people focus on, they focus on asset building, right? Whether they're investing in real estate, stocks, businesses, right? They making sure they're putting their money into things that's going to generate more money and build their wealth over time. That's just a smart thing to do, right? They're focusing on cash flow, right? They understand that if they can put their money into assets that's going to generate more income and generate a cash flow, that's more money that they can make. Then take that money and then to make more money, right? It's always about putting your money to work, okay? And that's what you should always be focused on, right? Always trying to find the money that you're making, put that money to work, right? Don't keep it stagnant. Don't leave it as is. Find a way to put it to work so it can generate more money, right? Because just think about it, guys. We're not going to be on this earth forever, right? Like the body eventually gets tired, right? We're not machines. We're not robots. We get tired. So you don't want to be in your 50s and 60s working as hard as you did in your 20s and 30s, right? So that's why it's important to make sure your money is doing the work for you. And a lot of people don't know how to do that because they just don't understand how money work, right? The money that you make, whether it's through your job or your business, take that money and find ways to make more money. And that's what wealthy people are doing, right? That's all they're doing. They make money, take that money and put it into vehicles that's going to make more money. It's pretty simple as that. So, and it creates leverage, right? It helps them leverage for their time, their capital, people with systems. That this is what they do. They use their cash to leverage to make so they can have more time to do the things that they want. All right. So always make sure that whatever money that you're making, don't just put it aside. Make sure you're finding ways to put it to work. That's the most important thing. So what should you do instead? I always tell people, all right, focus on increasing your income. Increase your income. Any way you can increase your income, you can generate more income, do it. Because cash, like a lot of people talk about how cash, some people say cash is king, or there's this argument where cash is king, cash is not, is not. Obviously, the most important asset is your time, right? We have a limited time on this earth, so that's the most important. So you want to make sure you're valuing that above most, right? Above everything else. The second most valuable asset is that dollar, man. That dollar is very important, man. That dollar can do a lot for you, right? People will pay you money to use your money. Right? You see the banks, like if you put your money in a high yield savings account, they're going to pay you interest to borrow your money. That dollar can help you purchase assets. That dollar is very important. So you want to always try to focus on income, whether it's, and the best way to do that is to increase income is like developing skills, side hustles, and businesses, entrepreneurship. I would always recommend entrepreneurship if you're someone that's motivated and ambitious to do it, right? I understand some people aren't interested in it, and that's totally cool. But if you're someone that has any ambition or any motivation to start a business, I would surely recommend it. It's not easy, but it's definitely rewarding. Creates a lot of freedom and time for yourself. But that's what you do. You want to generate income, and any way you can find income, that's what you want to do. All right? And once you create that income, invest early and often. All right, invest early and often, right? The earlier you can invest into certain things, the more you can learn, develop skills, and find out how things work, and the more money you can make over time, right? That's the thing. You want to try to learn as early as you can. Also, you want to make sure you're strategic in how you use it, okay? If you have an emergency, right, you should always have an emergency fund, right? And what I do is, like, if you have an emergency fund, don't just put it in the bank, put that in the high yield savings account where at least it's working, right? Like for when you need it, you can take it out and do other things. Okay, but have it somewhere where it's generating. Don't just put it aside where it's not making any money. Put it somewhere where it's actually generating some income for yourself, right? It's making money. Don't keep it stagnant. Always have your money. Don't matter where you put your money. Have it working for you. All right, so it's important to be strategic with it. And now, of course, think long term, right? This is not a short term thing. Be a long term thinker. For a lot of people, they want that instant gratification. They're not willing to invest long term into things. They want everything now. They want the nice car. They want the nice house. They want the clothes. You got to be a long term thinker. And I understand that you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? People have this mindset that YOLO. right? You only live once, or you never, you may not be here tomorrow. I get it, but I always tell people that you might be here for a long time, right? You might be here to 60, 70, and you want to make sure you're prepared for that. At the same time, trying to enjoy life and enjoying the present moment, because that's also important too. But you got to try to find that balance and do both. Okay, but you want to have that mindset where you're always trying to build. Be strategic with how you use your money. Make sure you're putting in investments where you're growing your money all the time. Take the income, put it in things, and make sure it's growing. And for a lot of people, have to have that mindset. So finally, all right. So the final message is, like, understand this, right? Saving is not a bad thing, right? I want to make that clear. Like, saving is not a bad thing. Saving is very important. It's just that you want to make sure you're strategic with how you save. Okay. I think for me, it's like, I know and also it depends on how you get your money. If you're someone that works a job, your mindset is going to be a little different than someone that let's say has their own business, right? And how you go about creating income for yourself is going to be a little bit different. Like me personally, like, I don't invest in 401ks, IRAs, and stuff like that, because my mindset is just that, obviously that's if you're working a job, or you got to wait till 65 to enjoy that money. Like, I don't want to wait that long to enjoy money. I want to enjoy it now. At the same time, that's why I put my money in things that generate income, whether it's a high yield savings account, whether you're doing real estate, or whether you're investing in high yield stocks where it's generating income for you. I'm always focused on generating more income. At the same time, you put your money into assets that's going to grow over time, where if, once you get older, you can dip into. But my goal is always to create more income where, as I get older, obviously I'm going to be working less, but I still have things working for me and creating income for myself. Like, that's my goal. And if you're someone that works a job, you're waiting till you're 65 to retire, that's also fine. Just make sure, investing in ETFs, investing in, these retirement funds where, once you're retired, that you can dip into them and then live off that money, right? Because you don't want to just focus on Social Security, right? You shouldn't be living off Social Security. That should be supplemental income. I know a lot of people, they live off that Social Security, and it's not a good way. It's a fixed income, and like I said, that's not something you should be focused on. So these are my thoughts. Interested to hear your thoughts. Make sure to leave a comment down below, hit the like button, share, and if you haven't done so, make sure to subscribe. All right, guys, take care. Have a good one. Later.